Hello, my fans, friends. Welcome to another Retro RHLSTP. A chance to see the full video of a retro show from 2022 for free, without ads, without becoming a monthly badger. You get it for nothing because we're lovely at RHLSTP. You can also, of course, just listen to the audio, which we are releasing again as well. Better for us if you do that because there are a few ads in there. And that gives us a small amount of revenue. You can also give us revenue by checking out my eBay auctions, which are going up every now and again. I'm Herring 1967 on eBay. There's some exciting things. Look, I've found I'll probably put that up by now. There's a poster of Stuart Lee. Things like that will go up. I found this poster of Stuart Lee. I don't want that. What a load of shit. Let's see if I can make some moolah out of it. Or come and see a live show, richshowing.com/RHLSTP. We're in London, Sheffield, at Edinburgh. You can check out all the guests so far. Or become a monthly badger, go fasterstripe.com/badges. But anyway, we got Armando Iannucci for you. What a treat. Been on a few times, such a brilliant guy. And I know you're going to enjoy this lovely video/audio of Armando Iannucci. All right, bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Leicester Square Theatre. Please welcome a man who's finally finished his latest book on bollocks. It's Richard Herring. First draft. It's only the first draft. Hello, my fine friends, and welcome. Oh, I've just lost my page. I can't do it without the book. Welcome to another edition of Richard Herring's Leicester Square Theatre podcast. But I was talking to Johnny Five from Short Circuit. He says it wouldn't be cheating, by the way. He said I shouldn't feel bad about it. So what happened is fine between the two of us. I also was talking to Ben Jabatiai from Short Circuit as well. He was there too. What was he up to? I don't want to didn't talk to him. What was, that character Fisher? What's his face? Anyway, Johnny Five calls it RHLSTP. So we're gonna. That's fine. Right, yeah. I finished my book. That's done. It's all right. That'll be out in October or something. So buy that. We'll see how it goes. It's nice to get that over with. I have been thinking a lot. A couple of weeks ago, in the last 2 weeks, I revealed that my son had woken me up at 6:30 in the morning to ask me if ghosts have bum holes, and been thinking about it. I didn't know what to say. It was a good thing to wake up to, and it's quite a good question to have. I mean, they probably do, right? But a ghost is just an apparition and a shadow of things that once were, unless the ghost has no clothes on, the lower half. And I've never heard of a naked ghost, even though loads of people must die. Now, I presume when you're a ghost, you're wearing, that's what Ghost, the TV series is, whatever you're wearing at the time, that's what you wear, isn't it? And but in they presumably they can't take their clothes off once they're dead. So in essence, they only have the things that you can see. They're see-through, aren't they, ghosts? So they don't have any internal organs. So one can assume they don't have any internal organs. So they probably don't have bum holes, unless you can see their bum. We need to see a ghost with its bum out to finally answer this question. Also, they don't use their bum holes unless I suppose they were doing a poo when they died, and it's sort of hanging out of their ghost bum. Again, I've never heard. You'd think that would have happened, and no one ever says I saw a ghost with a turd hanging out the back of it. Why not? Lots of people must have died like that. Elvis. Anyway, thought about it a lot. Let me also say at this point, I have to thank some people who backed the Kickstarter, and thank you to Rob Hughes, who says to me, "Thank you for introducing me to pub and club comedy nights all those years ago in Brighton." That's code. That's all right, Rob. Anytime. Don't tell the wife. And the Kings of Wessex Fast Maths alumni group. I was part of the Kings of Wessex Fast Maths. I did maths in a year and pure maths in the next year. So I'm I can't remember any maths at all, but no, I was very clever. Or Calfamag, as the nerdy kids call it. Special sub-mention to those who also survived the Hugh Sexy 4-H experience. Now, it's difficult to explain to people who didn't go to my school what the Hugh Sexy 4-H experience is. I'm not quite sure. There was 2 middle schools that fed into the Kings of Wessex School. This is where I went to school, so someone from Cheddar. There was Fairlands Middle School, which I went to, and there was a school called Hugh Sexy's Middle School. Which you can imagine, we got no, actually surprisingly little humour out of that. Imagine having a school called Hugh Sexy in this day and age. Where'd you go? Oh, yeah, I go to Hugh Sexy. I'm 10 years old. Yeah, what's wrong with that? Yeah, we all have to have sex with the teachers, that's all. Anyway, Fairland's rules, Hugh Sexy is shit, that's all I'm going to say. I'll tell you this one, I was going to save this till next week, but I can't wait to tell you. Another thing from my son. He's a good source of comedy. He's actually better than a bollock for comedy. That's the thing, if you grow them for long enough, kids start to pay you back eventually. This is good. We drove to London Zoo this week, and on the drive down, my wife was listening to Gina Yashere's audiobook, and she said, oh, should I put it on? I said, yeah, and she put it on, and Gina Yashere was just saying fuck every 2 minutes. And the kids were in the back. So we explained to the kids that there are some bad words and that kids shouldn't repeat them, but the comedians often say bad words. And Ernie said, I like comedians. And I felt pleased about that. I thought, I know how much he looks up to me. So I said, I'm a comedian, I told him. He said, no, you're not. I said, I am. He said, you can't change colour. So, it's pretty good, isn't it? Pretty good. He didn't even know he'd done it. He didn't even know it was a joke. So let's crack on. I think we can crack on. Let's not mess around. We've got a good guest. I can mess around a lot when we've got rubbish guests, but when we've got good ones, I should shut up. My guest this week is probably best known for writing, as I am best known for as well, for writing on unknown episodes of Up to Something, the 1989 sketch show, starring Mike Haley. I think Shane Ritchie was in it. David Schneider was in it. Up to Something. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome Armando Iannucci? Here he is. It's Armando Iannucci. Up to Something. Do you remember Up to Something?
No, I think some pre-written material from college days got used in that. But I remember the show, yes. But I never remember watching it. So,
I don't think I watched it. Dave Schneider rang me up.
Yeah.
And he got his big TV break and said, can I do that stuff you did about magicians? Can I do that?
Okay,
on
yes.
TV?
No, he asked me about my Shakespeare sketch.
So he just got some of our stuff on. I made 50 quid or something.
Oh, great.
I was very happy.
Yeah.
Very
Out of
pleased.
small acorns.
And at that point, our TV CVs were exactly the same. If you looked at IMDb at that point, you go, wow, those two exactly equal.
Right up to, but not including Alan Partridge.
Yeah.
I just listening to your son cackle on there.
Yeah.
If he knows his Milton,
Yeah.
Milton describes the angels as having bottoms.
Does he?
Because he describes angel farts.
Right.
He talks about the angels eating normal food, and he talks about matter from corporeal to incorporeal turn. So the angels turn the solid matter into gas and expel it.
And does it smell nice or horrible?
We don't know. We just don't know.
We just don't know.
That science hasn't got that.
Right.
Part, yeah.
I mean, it's not. I don't think you can call an angel a ghost, though. I mean,
No,
that's right.
I know. I know. I was massively generalising and sort of quite offensively saying that angels were just like ghosts, where in fact they're two separate cultures, basically. Yeah.
Well, angels, I've been reading a book about the anatomy of God by Dr. Francesca Stavrakopoulou. Okay. And God had a dad and he had 69 brothers. And that's possibly what angels are the 69 brothers of God, who then sort of knocked off his dad and became the main one.
And is this true?
Well, I mean, it's how much of anything we've said so far is true. I mean, I think Up to Something existed.
Right, okay.
But I think after that...
Although, as I say, I've never seen it, so...
we can't be sure.
It may not, it may just be entirely fictional. Yes.
May not. So, yeah, that's good. Well, look, it's been unbelievably 4 years since you've been here, Armando.
Yeah.
And you managed to do a bit of stuff in the last 4 years. Well done. Given two of them were, lockdown, you've done pretty well. I've just been watching today again, which I did watch at the time, Avenue 5, which I think like it's interesting because I think it must be difficult when you've got like the pedigree of shows that you have. When a new show comes out, everyone's kind of judges it very quickly, right?
In relation to the previous one.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I feel like maybe Avenue 5, like a little bit, people went, I'm not sure.
It's not got politics.
Yeah. I'm not sure
It's
this
in
is...
space. Never done that before.
It's really good.
Oh, good. Thank you.
And again, you've sort of managed to predict the future in your work, which you seem to do an awful lot, in that it's basically a lockdown comedy written before lockdown.
It went out during lockdown, but it was about people being trapped on a space cruise liner.
Yeah.
Meant for 8 weeks, but something goes wrong, so they're stuck up there for 8 years. And it went out the week that all the cruise liners were trapped in Japanese ports and things like that, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm responsible for COVID as part of some publicity push.
Feels like it.
I'm not saying that.
I feel like, you know...
and I don't want anyone to think that.
You might not be doing it on purpose, but I think you might have some kind of power to so a lot of the thick of it things came true, didn't they? I think we talked about that last time. And this has sort of come true. But I was watching today the few of the middle episodes, and I mean, it's sort of very much of... It's about truth and about how people... aren't really able to believe anything anymore.
Or people believe only what they want to believe.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so there's a very, very funny scene where some of the passengers decide it's all a hoax and go out, but then just keep going out even though they've seen people.
One lot of people go out the airlock and just explode in space. Someone else says, no, that's just visual effects. Done very badly. So some more people go out and explode. Yeah. And then they go, okay, anybody else want to go out? And then more people go out. Yeah. And that went out the week that people were demanding in America to go into department stores that were shut because of COVID. They were all just kind of shouting and demanding to go in. Yeah.
I mean, it's very, it's very true. I mean, obviously that was in the air, that idea of people not believing, not knowing what to believe.
Yes.
And choosing to believe
it's
nonsense.
It's very Trumpian. And of course, since then, we've had the whole, Biden didn't win the election hoax thing that's suddenly become a kind of, it's talked about so much that people, half of America believes it.
Yeah.
Do
you think, and I just sort of wonder about that as a political ploy, is it not... Do you think that can work? Because if you start...
Yes,
but do you think it can work in the long term?
Yes, I think it can.
Do you think it can?
Yes. I'm just going to keep saying yes.
Yeah, okay.
I think it can. And then it will work. Because I think I know this is a comedy podcast.
No, it's fine. We can be...
But I fear that in the next 2 or 3 years, if we don't get it right, we will see the end of democracy, truth, and the planet.
Yeah. In that order?
In that order, yes.
Otherwise,
one will lead to the another.
Yeah.
In that, we're already seeing what's going on in the misinformation in Russia that seems to be working within Russia.
Yeah.
We may well end up with, if not Trump, someone like Trump saying Democrats are not patriots, and therefore, any election that they purport to have won, they haven't.
Yeah.
That's not true. And that come into effect. And then America pulling out of all the climate change agreements and consequently the end of the world.
But then that's sort of not working out in the long term, is it, for Trump? If the world ends, then he's sort of lost.
Yes, I think the point is that he doesn't think the world will end. Yeah.
But also, I just sort of think if you create this group of people who are that mad and who'll believe whatever they're told, then that can easily be turned against you, though, surely. At some point.
Well, yes, but it seems to be that actually it's infectious, and that now I think part of the problem is that whatever we see on our screens now, we sort of don't quite trust, whether it's on the BBC or whether it's on some website, because it all kind of looks roughly the same. It's possible to construct stuff that looks legit.
Yeah.
Even though it's someone in Macedonia in a bedroom kind of compiling it. It looks a bit like the Washington Post, but it isn't.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the problem. So that it's become more difficult for us to be able to distinguish between what's factual and what isn't, what's fictional. You know.
So, well, we're fucked then.
We are fucked. So,
do you think? I was going to ask you. You know, like obviously in the Ukraine, a comedian's become the president, and you know, it hasn't gone that great.
yes.
But he's turned out to be very good in the awful situation that he's ended up in.
Thankfully, not doing comedy, but actually doing the job that he was elected for.
But do you think we should do the same here? I mean, like, you would be a good person I would nominate to be the prime minister.
The prime minister of which party?
Well, you could be your own. You could be your own party. Well, he's his own party, isn't he?
Yeah.
So
my
can create your own
problem
party.
is the closer I've come to observing politics, the more I realised how odd these people are. You have to be odd to think that that you are the best person to run the country. I mean, there is something odd about that.
Yeah.
And in order to get to that job, you will happily join a party and agree with everything that the leader says until you become the leader. I mean, there's already a number of kind of compromises you have to make to get. I don't think I would get that far.
But then, you know, he started up his own party and like 70% of Ukraine voted for him. So like it's, you know, because he did that TV show, didn't he? And
but we have a system in the UK where you can't do that. You can't start a party and it take off. You know, the closest we've come is UKIP. But they got one MP.
Yeah.
You know, they got influence over the whole debate on Europe. But it was David Cameron being scared of UKIP that caused the referendum.
Yeah.
But UKIP didn't actually get more than one MP.
No.
And then after the referendum, they didn't get any MPs. And then Nigel Farage starts a different party every week now, just to get on whatever panel. Have you ever had him on here, or have you?
Not yet.
No,
not yet.
He's very funny. He's very.
He's only got one testicle. Did you know that? He had testicular cancer. So
really?
I am doing a podcast where I interview people with one testicle.
Are you?
Yeah, so I could have him on that. But he's quite scathing about the NHS, I believe. I think he was quite annoyed with the NHS. I was quite pleased they saved my life, but he seemed annoyed.
He's a bit annoyed that they saved your life.
He's annoyed about me,
Yeah.
No, we haven't had. I don't think. I was saying backstage, I met him on This Week, and I couldn't even really look him in the eye or talk to him, but he had there was an unpleasant
I've heard
angel fart around him.
There was to use the technical no, I have heard, but I mean, obviously for legal reasons we can't say that he's a cunt, but but I've heard all I can say, there have been allegations.
Yeah, there have definitely been. I could add to that.
Unproven, I'm sure.
But, he is the most, he's possibly, even though he wasn't elected, he's elected to the European Parliament, wasn't he? But he's probably the most successful politician of the 21st century in the UK.
So far,
yeah.
Yes.
So,
and we did predict in Time Trumper that David Cameron, who was the Prime Minister at the time, would do something so awful he was never seen again. But we never specified what it was, and behold,
That's pretty incredible. Well, let's talk about lockdown.
Yes.
How was your lockdown?
Well, I think like everyone, it was good bits and bad bits, really.
Yeah.
The start of it coincided with my having already scheduled to take some time off because I'd just finished doing Avenue 5.
Sure.
And David Copperfield had come out, so it was quite busy. So I was going to take some time off, and then lockdown happened. So it was sort of I didn't feel like I'd suddenly been stopped in my tracks. But as with my mum passed away very on in lockdown, not from COVID. She was 93. But I think a lot of people, like my mum who had dementia, just shut down suddenly without the contact, without understanding why no one was coming to visit. That was hard. And we had the very sparse funeral. At the time, the parties were happening just to remind you that I haven't forgotten about the parties. The parties were happening in number 10 because they were working very hard.
Yeah.
Unlike us, because
Yeah.
we weren't working.
We weren't
We weren't working.
We weren't working.
We
We were working so hard there wasn't time to party. If we
There wasn't
were in the
time to
NHS,
party.
so it's
Yeah.
fair enough. They working very hard,
Oh,
but
no,
then had
I-
a little bit of time to party.
I
That's
remember passing hospitals where there was a big party going on, and all the wards and surgeons were going, "Yeah, we got 5 people on ventilators today. Let's have some wine." And
Yeah.
because they were working. Yeah, they were. So and it was okay for the consultants and the nurses and so on to have parties because they were working flat out. So
Yeah.
I think it's acceptable if you're working flat out, you have a party.
Yeah.
Under a great deal of pressure. So that was happening. And then we started writing Avenue 5 season 2, but it was very difficult because it was all on Zoom, and I kind of like, I like people in the room, and I just like to be able to bounce off people. This is the first time actually I've been in front of people with naked faces. This is
They're very anti-mask. My
yeah,
fans.
yeah.
There's one. We've got one of them. Come on, what's wrong with you? Take your mask off. Be like the rest of us.
what's wrong with my face? Yeah, have it. There is full, just for listeners, there's full facial nudity
There is.
in this theatre.
Yeah.
So yes, so there was that, and so that was tricky. We started filming Avenue 5. I've so lost track of the years as well now. When was it? 2020 was at the end of 2020. We lasted for about 2 weeks because COVID was just so getting in the way that we shut down after 2 weeks. And I decided that actually we wouldn't start again until September of last year. So we had quite a long gap then. Yeah.
Yeah. And you wrote, of course, your
I wrote a poem.
mock heroic.
Mock epic poem.
Yes.
Yes.
Pandemonium.
Which wasn't planned. It sort of spilled out. I hadn't. During lockdown, I think a lot of people took up hobbies like, knitting and sourdough and learning Italian and stuff. And I didn't do any of that. But I did sort of fiddle about with words and stuff. And then this poem started really just for my own kind of therapy in a way. I didn't plan it to be, I didn't know where it was going. I didn't plan it to turn into something. I didn't plan to publish it or anything. It just grew. And occasionally, and it would come quite quickly for a bit. And then after about 50 lines, I'd put it away. And maybe a whole month would go by. And then I'd pull it out and write a bit more and put it away. So over the course of the year, it just grew, really.
I mean, it is funny, but there's a lot of pain and anger in there. It's quite painful to read just to be reminded of the stuff that happened.
Actually,
as much
I
as you're
wanted to
laughing.
do something that sort of encapsulated, I think, what we all went through, which was, the highs and the lows and the fury sometimes of just watching what was happening on the television and the press conferences and, decisions being made very late on in the day and multi-billion dollar contracts going to friends of friends of friends and all that. And so there was that public thing that I think connected us all, really. And yet the private thing that every individual person or family, or household went through privately. And I wanted to try and do something that connected. So it wasn't really a summing up. It was just more a kind of attempt to try and articulate what was going on, all the sort of mixed emotions, I suppose.
I mean, it almost feels like, there could be, it could keep going on. You could be adding to it all the time.
I think I will. We're possibly doing a stage version of it later this year. Now.
Okay.
It was written before the parties emerged, so
Yeah.
I will have to go back and do a whole new kind of supplement.
I mean, it really does. It lends itself to. I was thinking maybe an animation of it, but a stage for it because there's so many wonderful, like all the people who were going for the contract sort of become this amorphous mass.
The circle of
legs
friends, yes, and it's like a vision of hell because it's a whole clump of people who are all kind of feeding off each other and kind of knowing each other inside out. They're all knotted together in a big kind of incestuous mound of friendship and connections. There's things like that. Yeah.
No, it's really good. It's it's a lovely short.
It's a small short book,
which I love.
Yes.
Because I can read it twice, so there you go. It's good.
So
might read it again.
Yeah, I've read it twice as well. Yeah.
And so when you were writing Avenue 5 by Zoom,
Yes.
Did you find you were being informed now by the lockdown because did it sort of become part?
Well, some of the
next
things
series
that
partly about
it was already about what is leadership, and the whole idea was I've always loved sci-fi, but it's not really about aliens and it's not Star Trek. It's really just what happens if 6,000 people are stuck together for a long time and just basically have to start again in terms of what are the rules, who's in charge, what does leadership mean, how do we educate people? So it's really a kind of social thing. And therefore, and those questions were bubbling along anyway, and how easy is it to believe stuff that is clearly not true? What is leadership anyway? And all of that, really. So it sort of did feed into the second series. Yeah.
And it's a bit like Voyager, right? The Star Trek Voyager, which is about the starship that gets abandoned.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Beamed across, and they're trying to travel home. So it's sort of a similar-ish idea, but with where they make their journey much longer rather than cutting time off.
It's exactly that. In fact, we've just stolen that,
right?
and put some gags in.
But it's nice that science.
Yeah.
Well, get 7 of 9 in, and I'll definitely keep watching. And it's a lot of the because it's a team thing. As a lot of
I kind of like working with a big cast and an ensemble.
Yeah, but it's a lot of the people who work on Succession, right? So there's a couple
some of the writers.
Yeah,
yes,
some of the
that's
writers.
Right. Yeah. Because they originally worked on Think of It and Veep.
So did Veep sort of lead to the door opening for Succession? Do you think that's...
It did, in terms of HBO, because Veep was the first thing HBO did that was actually... It was very British-based in terms of we all wrote it here and we shot it in Baltimore, but we edited it here. The directors were all based here, and so the kind of the actual production office starts here. And it kind of gave them... confidence to start doing more stuff based in the UK, really.
Yeah, terrific. Yeah. Good. Right, I'm going to ask you some emergency questions, then I'm going to talk about...
But we got to that point already where...
No, I just thought, because otherwise I'll just whisker everything and we won't have done any. I was going to ask about ghost bumholes, we've covered that. Do you think the photo that will be used in your obituary has been taken yet? What do you think it is?
I think the photo will be me driving into the Kremlin with suspect devices running my waist.
We don't know what you might do in the future. I think it's interesting. I'm sure there will be a photo of you, but I think with you, it'll be a whole page with you if it's a broadsheet, I think. And there'll be a picture of there'll be pictures of the things you've created. But it's difficult to work out.
There'll be things. I'll be like my face, and it'll be like in the centre of a spider's web. Well, so it'll Partridge, Malcolm, the in the thick of it, they'll say, rather than the thick of it. The Alan Partridge Show, they'll say.
But your obituary could be just a photo of Steve Coogan. That's. And everyone will go, oh no, Steve Coogan.
There'll be some incorrect ones. There'll be Brass Eye, Tony Farino, and stuff. Succession.
I hope it hasn't been taken yet. I hope it's you as a very old man.
Sent a chill through my soul, that has.
All right, this one might do as well. We were talking about butterflies the other week and the way that a caterpillar goes into a pupa and melts and then turns into a butterfly. If you could enter a pupa and melt and come out as anything you wanted, it could be you, or it could be someone else, or it could be anything.
Yeah.
What would you like to come out of a
chrysalis?
I think
Steve Coogan. I think
I'm quite like that, actually. Yeah. Would it be Steve Coogan now or Steve Coogan, a young Steve
Coogan? Steve Coogan.
So you could enjoy...
Fresh. Just about to kind of embark on the whole Partridge.
So would you have done the W.H. Smith's adverts already, or would
that'd be behind me. But the whole hacked off kind of campaign with Hugh Grant will still be
that's still
ahead.
to come.
Yeah.
What a life that would be to relive. That'd be fantastic.
But he'd have my voice. But if he had my voice his entire career as a very skilled and talented impressionist, lodged and would be gone, wouldn't it? Because it would just be me going, hello, I'm Roddy Corbett. Hello, I'm Jeremy Paxman. Hi, hello. Hi, do you know who I am? I'm Dame Judi Dench. Can't you tell from the way I'm behaving?
Yeah, it'd
That
be an
it's
interesting...
me. You could, if you shut your eyes, you smell Judi Dench. Go on, try it. Shut your eyes.
I'm doing it.
Smell me. Smell me.
Yeah, it is Judi Dench. It is Judi
Yeah.
Dench. That's the thing with the chrysalis. That's the danger. It's like the Twilight Zone chrysalis. So you wish for something,
But you could
then,
come out.
You'd come out.
If a laboratory assistant had put a kind of pin or a Smartie in the Petri dish at the same time, you could come out as a massive Smartie.
Yeah. Get the M&M gig, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
You'd be on the adverts for that.
Yeah.
That would work out. Could work
But it's
out.
not a life. I mean, after the M&M gig, then what? M&M tribute kind of.
Do you think that if people ate a bit of you, would it grow back again? Do you think if you were an M&M person?
Or they turn into it.
They could turn into
so
you.
it's infectious. It's infectious. We'd have to take tests. We'd have to. I think I'm coming down with the massive M&M disease. I don't think I should go into work today.
Yeah, but it'd be so delicious, people wouldn't be able to resist. Even they knew what was going to happen. They go, I still have to eat a bit of that.
Huge as well, and you'd be banned from schools because it's bad for the. They've got to have a healthy diet and stuff.
True.
But you could hang outside schools. It wouldn't be odd. It wouldn't be odd. Because it's just M&Ms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think this is a film idea we could do together?
Film is so old school.
Oh, is it? Okay.
This is a Netflix 10 one-hour episodes, 6 season. I've got the whole arc mapped out. 6 season. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Did you? I think we talked about it last time, but you had that idea about Donald Trump in a bunker and being told that there'd been a nuclear. Was he been told there'd been a nuclear war, but there hadn't been? But that was just a tweet you had that nearly made me.
The premise was he thinks he's governing, but in fact a whole replica White House has been built.
Yeah.
And he's been shoved inside it, while actually America's governed properly. And he must never know, but a fortune is spent on an alternative Senate and rallies and everything. And I just tweeted that. I think I was in a doctor's waiting room a bit more. I tweeted it. At the end of the day, I had 12 offers from major American studios.
Well, you wait till after this podcast has aired.
Yes,
the M&M.
The M&M.
It's going to go through the roof.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing. I'm going to ask you a new emergency question. It's sort of new. If you could own and live in any building in the world, they would give it to you. Where would you choose to?
Again, I think I'd probably go into the Kremlin.
Yeah.
With a suspect device strapped to my waist and take it from there.
Yeah, okay. That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to ask you about David Copperfield. Now, I had an issue with the casting of David Copperfield.
You had an issue?
Yeah.
Surely.
I'm a middle-aged man, and I like to see things done in the proper way.
Yeah.
Why did you cast people from the 21st century?
I know.
In that, they should all have been Victorians, right?
They should have been. And we did. To be fair, we did try that.
Yeah.
And we filmed. There's 10 minutes of footage of us. We dug up from various graveyards, not just in London, but in a kind of to open it up to the kind of the regions. We dug up from all around the country, and we got Victorian corpses and skeletons to take part, and it just didn't work. It was this sort of, it was the pervasive immobility of all of the cast that sort of slightly rendered. There just wasn't energy to it.
Okay.
And I kind of wanted a bit of life, a bit of, a bit of whatever.
Well, I'm disappointed in that decision. You messed around with it a bit, David Copperfield. Did you think about doing a scene where David Copperfield goes and meets Shrek and they live together? That would have been quite good in the middle. Just they go and he goes and hangs out with Shrek.
For no reason.
Yeah. You messed around with it. Why not put Shrek in?
Just Dora. I think I must go and visit Shrek. And then
then go have an adventure.
Yeah.
And then back to...
Well, again, to be fair, we did film. But But that was again with the corpses. So
Right.
Shrek and there is Shrek and corpses, and there's a pervasive sense of just green to all of the
Yeah, I guess you do.
bodies involved.
It's very good, David Copperfield. Well done.
Thank you very much.
You won a Writers Guild award.
Yes.
I was there. I saw.
Oh, were
Simon,
you?
I saw
Yes.
something. Well, my wife won an award.
What did she?
So I watched her win an award, and then
Very
I watched
good.
you win an award. And Simon picked
Thank you very much. I couldn't go because it was we were still because my wife has various sort of autoimmune kind of thing. So we've been very, very careful.
Right.
And it was the very start of it's fine. You don't have to wear masks anymore. It's
Yeah.
fine. If you've got COVID, actually, and you're unwell, you don't have to feel unwell. You don't have to just don't say you're unwell. If you're very ill, you don't have to believe you're very ill. It was just the start of that, and I kind of felt a bit nervous of.
Yeah, no, fair enough. It's only the Writers Guild. Paul Chuckle was there.
Oh right.
So, you know, you could have met Paul Chuckle. You could have gone out laughing. Your wife could have gone out laughing.
Yeah.
Got to balance it up.
Do you know in the death of Stalin,
Yeah.
when they move Stalin's corpse around, you can hear Paul Whitehouse going, "To me, to me." Yeah.
Well, they're very influential.
I remember the last time we did this,
Yeah.
and you asked me an emergency question, which
Yeah.
was, do you think Stalin could suck his own cock?
I did, yeah.
And as I went home, I thought, oh, I know what I should have said.
Go
which
on.
was, he probably can, but he wouldn't. He would get someone else to suck it for him in
Right.
case it was poison.
I tell you what, we'll edit that into the other. We'll edit that in. So we'll take that from this and we'll put it in. And you're looking very clever. Do you think David Copperfield ever tried to suck his own cock?
Well, I mean, in the book, there is Mr. Dick.
Yeah.
In the old Curiosity Shop, there's a character called Dick Swiveller.
Right. Well, you've got to make that.
You got
gotta make that
just
next.
that again as a Netflix kind of 10 1-hour episode for 16 seasons. I
Yeah,
think this
that
one
would be good. That would work very well.
with a kind of reality element as well for the young people. Kind of will they, won't they? On an island, Dick Swiveller's island. Will they? The thing is, they've been married, but they don't know it, and then they reveal who's married to who, and whether they'll get on. But we won't let them get on because we'll stir it up a bit for sociological reasons, not for entertainment. And it'd be really fun to watch them psychologically get damaged.
Okay. Apart from that idea, are you planning to do any more of Dickens's work?
I think that's it.
Love it, yeah. Okay. You obviously got a lot. You loved the book, David Copperfield.
Yeah.
It's pretty clear from the stuff I've read.
It's quite a modern book. It's funny. It's you open it and the opening chapter is David being born. It's written in the first person, David being born, and just trying to kind of work out what things are, just trying to process light and sounds and people's faces and smells, and it's all written in sentences with words of one syllable and so on, as he's trying to just master just the world, really. And that's a very modern kind of almost Joycean kind of approach, and this was a book written in 1850. It's like
He wasn't very nice, Charles Dickens, though, was he? As a bloke, does that matter?
Well, he had good bits and bad bits, I suppose. He was very into charity and social causes. But I think a lot of these people who have a big public profile privately, there's a bit of farage about them.
Yeah.
to use the term I'm now going to employ for anyone who's. God, I saw him. He was such a farage. He really was.
Well, it was thanks to your film that I could answer one of the questions on The Chase when I was on The Chase.
Oh, fantastic. What
Because
was
they
it?
asked, what's the title of David Copperfield, the full title of it, which is the title of the film, isn't it?
Oh, right, the personal history
Yeah,
of David Copperfield. Very good.
So, there you
What
go.
did you
Thanks
win?
We won £150,000, so won £50,000.
fantastic.
So, yeah.
For a kitchen or for charity?
No, just spend it on coke and hookers. They said that. Then they came back and said, "Oh, you meant to give that to charity." I went, "Oh,
Oh,
spend
fuck
it."
that. Someone once told me a story about some newspaper was ringing up various people saying, near Christmas time, what is your wish for Christmas? And they rang up a bishop, the bishop of, I'll say Leeds, but it's not the bishop of Leeds. I don't know what it was. And he said, I'd like just a nice box of chocolates. And then when he read the paper, everyone else was going for world peace, an end to famine, and this bishop, just a nice box of chocolates.
He's the only one who got what he asked for.
The only one who was being realistic. If you want to be kind of, Liz Truss about it, you want to absolutely, sensible. Got to live within your means, and wish within your means. Wish what's possible, not what's impossible. You dick. Yeah.
Oh, hold on. Was there? Oh, look, there's a couple. So I mean, we might have talked about you nearly being a priest before, but I didn't know that you nearly got into.
Well, I'm not nearly became a priest. It's not like I kind of accidentally was nearly, ordained by it. At one point, because I went to my secondary school was run by, it was a Catholic Jesuit school, but there weren't that many Jesuits in it, and I suppose, like anyone, when they're 15 or 16, they get very, very, really into one thing. And I suddenly got quite religious in a kind of Catholic way. But that didn't last. I mean, it lasted about 8 months, and I thought, stupid idea that is,
But you could have been, if you'd carried on, it could have been a priest. But you also nearly got into the treasury.
Nearly got into the treasury, yes. I sat at university. I didn't quite know what I wanted to do, because I think secretly I wanted to do comedy, but I just thought, how do you apply for that?
So this before you were a producer, obviously?
Yes, so this was like while I was still an undergraduate. And
right.
And I thought, well, I'll apply for the civil service exam, which they do, and I got through all the layers of it until the final interview at the Treasury. And they said, in the end, they thought I probably wouldn't take it seriously, and they were absolutely right. Because I came that close to coming up with the poll tax for everyone, and yeah.
That'd be, again, can you see an alternative? Because it's sort of weird, isn't it, that things happen and chance things happen, and if you'd gone that way, you could be Prime Minister now.
I could have been Prime Minister, yeah. Could have been Chief Secretary of the Cabinet or something. Yeah, I could have been sending out an email saying, hey, we're going to have a party later at the end of the week, because we've all been working really, really hard. Bring a bottle, yeah. But sadly, that didn't happen.
No.
Yeah.
And do you think, I know a few people have asked you about this, and this is a question you get asked quite a lot, but do you think the thick of it and the way that it, the way it made politicians and all the civil service look, do you think it actually encouraged people to behave like that? Do you think it had a sort of, or do you think it was a reflection of what was happening, or do you think it sort of affected politics?
I don't know. I mean, it always disturbs me to read that certain people getting into politics now see Malcolm Tucker as a kind of role model.
Yeah.
Because when you analyse any episode of The Thick of It, it's basically something minor happens. Malcolm comes in, tries to sort it out, and makes it 10 times worse. Leaves blaming everyone else. I mean, that's fundamentally any episode. So, he's not really a role model.
And yet Dominic Cummings is sort of super Malcolm, though, isn't he? Isn't he sort of a
weird kind of intellectual Malcolm?
Yeah,
yes. Okay. That deliberately maverick kind of let's stir things up a bit.
Yeah. And
then things don't go well, and they go, why is that? And it was because you just try to stir things up a bit, and that usually doesn't work. In a highly rule-governed organisation. I don't know. I mean, I've had various politicians or ex-politicians have said to me, well, there's lots of people in politics who do a lot of good. To which my answer is, of course, but that wouldn't make an entertaining show, just seeing someone come in and just work hard and, But I've also had people come up to me and say, like in the opening episode of The Thick of It, they have to come up with a policy in the back of a car. They've got 45 minutes. They've got to come up with something that, doesn't cost much but sounds good. And I've had various politicians come up to me and say, I've been in the back of that car.
Nice.
And that's been, the eye-opener when we were researching the thick of it was just how little time people have to decide anything and how kind of improvised an awful lot of it is. How they're just lurching from one day to another, just trying to get through it. And so a lot of politics now is very just reacting to the bad headlines from the week before and trying to do something about it.
And how long do you think? I mean, this podcast isn't going to go out for a while. Do you think Boris? I mean, like in the ones we were doing in January, we were saying, do you think by the time this goes out, Boris Johnson will still be Prime Minister?
So when is this going out?
This will be out in quite a few weeks now. So yeah, maybe April or May.
But it's interesting because I heard today, if you're listening, well, you could be listening anytime.
Yeah.
End of near 2/3 of the way through March.
Yeah.
That the police are now having direct interviews with some of the suspects in the Partygate. So they're taking it one stage further.
Yeah.
So
they're being very fastidious in their work, aren't they?
They're
really taking their time.
Well done.
Yeah, it's nice to see.
Well done, the police, for your studious efforts into trying to find out who went to the party from the photographs that you've been given of not terribly well-known, very anonymous-looking people that no one could identify at all. Yes. So it may well reach the stage.
Will it matter though? I mean, will it when it sort of because it's taken so long as well?
I know.
Will it just get to the point where we go, yeah, he was there. Okay, well now we're on.
I mean, that is the kind of frightening thing about how the news cycle works now, which is just if you've heard something for about 5 or 6 days, then irrespective of how that event concluded, you just think it's all over. So yeah, the party thing. We were so annoyed with the party thing, but that was so 3 months ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I think politicians do that a lot. They do a lot of that kind of, look, we've been through this many, many times, so I'm not going to go into this again. Well, why not? Because, yeah, we may have been through it many, many times, but we haven't actually got to the bottom of it yet. So we are allowed to persist in interrogating you about this until we get to an answer. But it's easy to go, I mean, you've asked me this 3 times before, and, I've avoided it then, and I think... I think you can see that, that this matter is now behind us.
But the only time they ever go is if they choose to, if they say, okay.
Yes.
They've got to have some shame.
That's what's changed now, this idea. I mean, even Matt Hancock is now seen as like some golden example of political integrity because he went because there was a photo of him breaching the guidelines, and he immediately went. And that was the last... Ever since then, it's been a kind of, we make up the rules, and if we don't want to go, what can you do about it?
Yeah.
And I think it was interesting, before Russia invaded Ukraine, before that was, like, quite rightly dominating the news, we were almost at the point where it was interesting to see whether actually Johnson would have had to go, despite his kind of trying to bluster out and stick with it.
Yeah.
And having a huge majority. It would have been interesting to see whether, in the end, the force of public opinion was such, the disgust was such that his position was untenable. I don't think now that's going to happen because there's so much else going on.
But then all the oligarch stuff has come out, and that's still, there's literally nothing.
Yeah. And then he said that the Ukrainians fighting for their own independence is like people voting for Brexit.
Yeah.
Which makes, the 48% of people who didn't vote for Brexit, makes them quisling, supine, treacherous freedom haters, including Liz Truss, who voted for Remain, Sajid Javid, who voted for Remain.
Yeah. I mean, it's offensive to everyone, but, and the Ukrainian people who would quite like to be in the EU.
Yeah. But, I know.
There we go. Never mind. But it sort of feels like we've. Where did the point change where politicians were no longer culpable for anything they did, but it seems like comedians will. I think it was say things and make jokes about things and be in more trouble than.
I think it was Donald Trump saying before he was elected, saying, "I could shoot someone in the face in Fifth Avenue and still get elected," and then get elected. That's. I think that's the point where everything changed.
Yeah.
And we're now in the UK, we are taking that as an example. Politicians are going, well, if he can do it, I mean, I don't see why. So we've had politicians, at one point, we had someone in the House of Commons standing up and saying about the trade agreement or something, someone from the government standing up saying, yes, we are breaking international law, but only in a limited and specific way. As if somehow, if you were stopped by the police for speeding, and you said, yes, I am speeding, but only in only in this road. So in a very limited and specific, I will slow down when I go round the corner, trust me. If they go, oh yeah, that's fine, that's absolutely fine. No, I don't see a problem there. Yeah. But I think that for me, that's the point where things changed.
Yeah. Is that? Do you think we can pull it back? Do you think people?
No.
You don't. No. I don't know if we can.
No, I don't think we can. I think once these things happen, it's like inventing nuclear weapons. You can't uninvent them. When you start saying just elect any old nonsense and say anything, because, nobody's going to believe, what they say. If you say, no, that's not true. You've reached a point. It's very difficult to undo that, I think.
Well, I guess, World War II, the pendulum swung back the other way after the Nazis had been defeated. And things were kind of nice again for a little while.
For a little while, yes.
So
but I think that, yes.
It has to get a bit worse.
Yeah.
And quite a lot of people have to die. And then it'll swing back and then we'll maybe be reasonable people again.
Well, yes. Yes, there comes a point in every conversation where you have to bring up the Nazis. But what I'd say there is, I don't think they were... when they said, here are... it was very clear what they were going to do because Hitler wrote it down in a book.
Yeah.
And then they went... I'm not saying, therefore, they were very honest and... But I think we're in a different situation here where you're now allowed to believe anything you want to believe. You don't have to be swayed by evidence or fact or science.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Science and evidence and fact are just one part of this complex jigsaw of life that we're all going through, and emotions and feelings and perception and persuadability are all part of it now, I think.
But eventually, surely the people who are using facts and, science...
Yeah.
If you have a society debate, that will be better than the, like in the Middle Ages, people believed a whole load of shit.
Yes.
And time passed and they stopped believing those things. Most of them.
Yes.
And it is a bit like that. Like the fact that some people believe the Earth's flat now. Again.
Yes, but again, you're sort of predicating the argument on the assumption that there will be lots and lots of time in which this thing can be turned around. But if there isn't lots and lots of time because of what they're believing now, if time is actually running out, then, you may choose to believe that we do have lots and lots of time. But I'm of the opinion, I can't prove it, that if we don't change things, we won't have much time.
Yeah.
But if we don't have much time, then, waiting for the pendulum to swing back the other way may be a little bit... whistling in the wind.
Okay, it's quite depressing.
I know, it is quite bleak, isn't it? This is like some sort of Beckett play. Two of us up on this stage just going, well, when will it end? How will it end?
But I know you're sort of interested. I think I've heard you might be doing something about social media as your next project. Uh-huh. But the internet, it should be. Obviously, any system of information can include lies, and books can be full of lies.
Absolutely, yeah.
But you'd sort of feel the internet should bring the world together. It should should be able to. I've got people I talk to in Russia via Instagram or whatever who might listen to this podcast or whatever, and you can have a conversation with them.
No,
and
it's brilliant.
You'd think that that would bring the world together and make people think we're all getting screwed over by the people at the top.
Anything is as good as or as bad as the people that use it. So the internet is huge. Yeah. It's global. And therefore it encompasses all that's good about, humanity, but also all that's bad about it. And the question is, is which way will we allow it to go? It is a fundamental battle between right and wrong and good and evil. But in individual kind of cases, but the cumulative effect, we just don't know. It's every way we turn, this conversation is getting bleaker and bleaker.
It is.
No, I am an optimist. I'll just forget all that. It'll be fine. It'll be absolutely fine. I think we will get our asses together. We will sort it out. We'll come up with a plan. I think Biden will win another 4 years. The Republican Party will hang their heads in shame. Climate change will become an acceptable thing, and we'll sort it out. There'll be peace talks and everything. It'll be absolutely fine.
Okay, good. I feel better now you've said that.
Yeah.
And I believe you. So, are you able to talk about your next projects, or is it still?
It's not secret. It's just I'm still in the process of thinking about, where it starts and where it's going. I mean, I have a rough idea of what it's going to be about, but I think until we're a bit further into the process of it, anything I say now will change in 2 months and whatever. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I won't ask you any more about that.
No, don't. I'm sorry. Sorry to be very evasive.
No, it's okay.
Sorry to be bleak and evasive.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. We're having a lovely time talking about M&M men, weren't we? And
Can we do more of that stuff?
Let's talk about that. We'll go into that. We'll see if we can find something in here.
Okay.
Let me see. Okay, I've never asked this question before. I don't even know what it is. What's your favourite drink? Hold on. If you found out that it was actually made out of wasp urine and always had been, would it still be your favourite, and would you carry on drinking it? What is your favourite drink?
Well, I'm from Glasgow, and actually wasp urine... Fizzy wasp urine is actually...
Is a thing. Is
a
your
thing
favourite
you can only get in Glasgow.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. So that would be...
You would keep drinking it?
I'd keep drinking that, yeah.
I wonder how much urine you can get out of a wasp. How many wasps do you need to make a glass of wasp urine?
You'd need several nests, I think. Yeah. And a massive hammer. I mean, a mallet. A mallet. Now, let's not fuck about.
Yeah.
A massive pile driver.
Do the wasps, because the bees do all the honey stuff, right?
Yeah. What do wasps do?
They don't do anything.
They kind of...
They don't, they've got all the... They dress up, they walk the walk, but they can't talk the talk.
They can't talk the talk, yeah.
They can't. They must be jealous of the bee. I think my daughter told me that wasps do something that helps the bees. Anyone know about that? They're like bees. They're bees helpers. They do something just like kill things or something.
They just clean the hive when the bees are out, I've got all the wax out and stuff. You can start. Yeah.
I think they do something to the flowers. They do something to the flowers. I think. And then
do they? The wasps.
They piss on them.
They piss on them.
Yeah. And that piss makes
fizz them up, and then the bees go. Is that wasp piss I smell? I must go over and have a closer look. Oh, it is wasp piss. But by the time they've done that, the pollen's gone on the bees' legs, and that's how nature works. I think David Attenborough said all that.
Yeah, okay, next. What happened to Lazarus the second time he died? Because he died once.
Yes.
Brought back to life.
Yes.
Is he then alive forever, or does he then die again?
No, I think he died with a look of shock and disappointment on his face.
Do you think, or did he think, it's all right, Jesus will be long in a minute to get...
Well, exactly. I think he got lots of people round. I think he had some illness that was, fatal. And he got all his relatives and family around, and he just went... Hang on a minute, just you watch. He's been given the last rites, and he's going, okay, just hang on a second, just no, oh, and then
gone. And you don't know, do you? Well, unless it goes to heaven.
And the thing was, as soon as he died, everyone in the room laughed. They just went, ha! It didn't work.
Yeah.
One trick pony.
But it's good. That's the thing with Jesus. A lot of the miracles, they're good for a bit, aren't they?
They're good for a bit, and then...
And I feel...
Apart from the water into wine, that would be... that's a real money.
Well, but he only did it once.
He did it once, yes.
You could do that all the time. Yeah. And, he cured...
Or other flavours and drinks.
He could
water into wasp's piss, for example. That's in some of the Gnostic Gospels.
He had the ability... If you had the ability to...
No, in fact, in the Dead Sea Scrolls, he did turn water into wasps. He actually turned water into wasp's piss. Yes.
He could do that.
Yeah.
If you had the ability to cure leprosy, wouldn't you spend your whole life going around curing leprosy?
Yeah.
He did, I think, 13 lepers or something. You should know. You've studied it. He did, less than 20 lepers.
Yes.
I mean, that seems rude.
Yes. And it's not big enough to be a kind of, a scientific kind of, for research purposes.
Right.
It's not a big enough
number
pool
No.
to get any kind of, information from us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lazy, actually.
Lazy.
Lazy.
I mean, I would.
Well, we're not lazy, sloppy.
Just do some more. Just
Sloppy.
Just cure leprosy. You're the son of God.
And that's it.
Just get rid of it. Say, Dad, let's
None
get
of
rid
this
of leprosy.
fish becoming bread and stuff or whatever. It's all that about. There's supermarkets. We don't need someone actually going, Luke, have another fish. There's a Tesco's and, that's it's easy, that stuff. We've got, trawlermen to do all that.
I wanted to ask you this. I've got this one written down
Go
especially
on.
for you. What is the most surprising thing or person that has ever leapt out at you?
Leapt out at me?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Anything leapt out at you? Anything leaping out at you now?
No, just an assassin leapt out at me.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been leapt out on.
We'll make sure someone listening to this, if you see Armando.
Oh, no. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life kind of going, oh, hang on a minute. I haven't been in this room before. What happens if I go, oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
Just for the rest of my life,
It'd be a shame. I was just at the traffic lights, the pedestrian crossing in Leicester Square, and I had just had my sandwich, and I was standing next to a man, and he looked at me and said, I just want to say you're my hero, which is quite nice, isn't it? And then he walked into the road, and I said, watch out, there's a bicycle coming, and I stopped him being run over. So I felt, I don't know whether he...
Oh, wait. That's demonstrating what a hero you are.
Well, I suddenly thought I didn't feel like I was a hero, and then I saved his life, so I sort of feel... Yeah, maybe
As I was coming here, I saw the Batman outside, and I was thinking, well, first of all, what is the Batman about? I mean, fundamentally, I can imagine someone with a superpower and the Marvel stuff. I get all that, but I don't. He's a wealthy man living in a dirty city, going after odd criminals for a laugh.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. But time and time again, whenever they reboot the Batman or Batman.
I mean, Batman usually. He's the Batman.
He's the Batman.
He's usually Batman.
That's
the difference.
I haven't seen the film.
I haven't seen it, but he's the Batman.
Does he say, "Hi, I'm the Batman"? Just so you don't confuse me with Batman.
Yeah.
I'm the Batman. And I was then thinking, as I turned the corner to come, I was thinking, who would be the British equivalent? Who's a wealthy individual? And I was thinking of Jacob Rees-Mogg would be our Bruce Wayne, I think, in a way. Yeah. That's as far as it went, and then I arrived, and I thought,
Again, I think we can work that. If you were offered millions to direct a superhero movie, would you do it, or do you want to? Because that's what often happens, isn't it? Directors have successful films, and then people come to them with that. Or do you want to just do your own ideas?
I want to do it, but I also know too much about what's happened to directors who've taken on these films, and then. Especially if they're only just starting, they're known for an indie hit or something like that, and then they get offered whatever.
Yeah.
The Flash or, Eagle Maniac or whatever. I don't know. The venomous turd, and the turd. I'm the turd.
That's definitely Jacob Rees-Mogg in that role.
What's your superpower? I just. I make ghosts poo.
There's always got to be a poo, hasn't it?
And I know that they have a terrible time, and 2/3 of the way through the process, the film is taken from them and is completed by the studio. So I just would find that awful beyond imagining.
But you've also, I mean, it must be, because if you're a showrunner, as you are on all these shows, it's a massively prestigious role, and obviously we've seen in show business that a lot of people let that kind of power go to their heads.
Absolutely.
And you seem to be unchanged.
Well, I try not
power.
to. I suppose it can. There is, I think being in that role or being a director on set, there is a power thing going on, which is why you hear all these terrible stories about how abusive people can be on set if they have that kind of control over something. So it's important to surround yourself with people who, you work with alongside, and you're respectful of each other. I do remember when I was doing we were doing Veep, and we were walking back for lunch, and one of the background artists, extras, but you call them background artists, just went, "Hey, Armando!" This was in Baltimore, and I turned around and I went, "Yeah?" He went, "I fucked your mom." And I went, "I'm sorry?" "I fucked your mom. I hear you're British, you like cursing." And I was so flabbergasted by this what I should have said was, "I'm a showrunner for this production and I would like you offset." But I was so kind of flabbergasted, I just walked away trying to work out, because it was so wrong, you know? I mean, you wouldn't show that to anyone, let alone anyone who is officially your boss. But also, it doesn't work. It's not a cursing thing. It's a weird kind of, you know. And so I was sitting at lunch. And it does say, you know, in your contract, as a showrunner for HBO, you can have people killed, you know, if that is what it takes to get the artistic. Well, I was at lunch, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus was opposite me, and I told her this story, and she just looked and then laughed and laughed and laughed. She just thought, that is so out of order that it's actually very funny, that it's sort of, you know, it's like if I just suddenly poured, I don't know, kind of hot coffee over your face all of a sudden for no reason, expecting to get a laugh. You know?
I think you get a laugh.
You know, but the first AD, the first assistant director came in and went, "What's his name? I'll get him for you. What's his name? He's off the show." And I thought, no, I can't do that. That's just, and I just let it lie. And then I told this. We then won an award at some LA, non-televised, but LA kind of thing for Veep. And I told this story and I got a laugh. And then Bryan Cranston won an award for Breaking Bad. And up on stage in front of a whole auditorium, he just turned to me and went, "Armando, I fucked your mum."
She got around a bit. That's all I can say about him. It's good, you know, it's nice. Nice to hear she had fun. You should have promoted that. That's what he was hoping for. The guy, the supporting. If he just said, "You're now the star of this."
I love it. I love it. You're going to be the face of this next episode. You're going to be in Times Square. You're going to be all over. You're a superstar. Barry Gibbons in Fuck Your Mums. You know, it's 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh dear.
We're going to have a big franchise.
That is brilliant. That is brilliant.
Hello, fuck your mum. Yes. Yes, he's in a meeting at the moment. Yes. Is this about fuck your mum? Yes. Yes, he's very busy, but you've got an idea for another one? Yeah. You know.
Could be like the. Well, it's in. It doesn't matter. I can't think of his name. Doesn't matter.
No, go on.
No, I can't think of the name of the bloke from the. It's going to take me so long to get round to this. I can't think of the name or what he does.
We must see this today.
Who's the bloke in the Cobbler that I'm obsessed with? Adam Sandler. Uh-huh. There's a bloke in all of his films who says something. I've forgotten what it is. I think it's Rob Schneider.
We can edit this. This can all be edited.
What does he say? You can do it.
You can do it.
He could be. Right, wait. Oh, hey, you know, you're saying that thing about the I fucked your mum guy. He could be in like.
You said that. You said that to you. You asked the audience for help.
No.
To get this information.
You know, I've forgotten his name again. What's Adam?
Yeah.
T-shirts. That'd be fantastic.
Fuck your mum.
Fuck your mum.
Yeah.
I think Armando, I fucked your mum. I think that's what it's great. It's just the Armando that makes it great. Armando. Not even Mr. Iannucci.
Not even. No.
Were you not tempted just to say, if you just said, Dad?
No, honestly, I'd lost all power of speech and thought. It was just so. It broke so many conventions, let alone rules. You know.
Oh dear. Good. Well, we cannot.
Anyway, he's in prison now. I reported him for verbal assault, and he's now in jail. And it's America, so he's in jail for 35 years.
Yeah, it was his third strike.
Where actually,
executed.
ironically, he is being fucked. Yeah.
Look, it's
dressed as a mum.
It's always fantastic to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming along and especially telling us that story. It's made up for the world ending.
I know.
Oh no, I've brought it up again.
We can cut all that bit down.
We'll cut that bit out and we'll just have them fucked your mum.
Yeah.
Got a title for this episode. It's all good. So, good luck with the new series of
Thank you very much.
which I'm very much looking forward to, and whatever else you're about to do, I'm sure will be fantastic.
Thank you very much.
And everyone should buy Pandemonium. It's fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, the amazing Armando Iannucci!
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We'll be back next week with Rosie Holt. You have been listening to RHLSTP with me, Richard Herring, and my guest, Armando Iannucci. The music is by Scant Regard. I'm indebted to my producer, Ben Walker. I'm also indebted to Chris Evans, not that one, or that one, or that one, or any of the other ones. It's the Go Faster Strike one, of course. Thank you very much to everyone at the Leicester Square Theatre for looking after us, all the crew and everyone at Acast, who are very nice as well. I also have to thank and name the Kickstarter reward backers, who this week are Dave Schofield, David O'Connor from BIM, or BIMM, I'm not sure which, The Scruff with the Cat, Neil Barkley, Rosa Jennings O'Connor, Keelan Flynn, Debbie Wythe, Paul Cadle, Ben Taylor, Not Required, James Horn, Luce Howard, Ivor Fran, Kevin Lindsay, Gordon Stephen, Pariak Kaminsky, Timothy, the artist formerly known as Tit Flaps McGinty, Alan Rolfe, Christopher Ellis, Karen Bickley, John Garrett, Matt Butler, Jan Gira, you got named a lot of times there, my friend, Andrew Dalton, Sean Edwards, Oliver O'Shea, Tony Deacon, Scott Rice-Snow, Sean Howe, Darren Hancock, JD, Kylie Burns, James McBride, Venkat Kalati. Thank you very much. This is a Sky Potato Fuzz and GoFasterStrike.com production. Go to richardherring.com/gigs and you can find out all about who's coming up in future episodes of RHLSTP. We're doing the Edinburgh Fringe in August for the first 14 days, so look out for us there as well. But come and see us live if you can, and do tell your friends about the podcast. Thank you very much. Goodbye.